You know, there's something to be said for having another train immediately on the tracks just a few days later.
No
you
doubt.
Can't wallow in misery for what might have been against the Titans. And the Colts have to be even more miserable when they realize, as we said yesterday, no Derrick Henry now, maybe for the rest of the season for the Titans. What an opportunity the Colts blew to tighten it up and still have an opportunity to take the division. They still may. They got to make up 4 games in 9, but we'll see what the Titans can do starting on Sunday Night Football against the Rams. But, you know, Chris, even though the Jets are 2-5 and the Colts are 3-5, number 1, it's football. Number 2, it's on TV.
Right.
Number 3, there's nothing else I'm going to be watching tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm intrigued by this. An old AFC East rivalry renewed.
Right.
Jets used to be with the Colts in the AFC East. The Colts moved to the AFC South 20 years ago. I kind of like this. And let's start with the Jets when they have the ball. Mike White playing again. How do you think it's going to look?
Well, I don't think it's going to look like last week, okay? I don't think he's going to throw for 400 yards. I think the way that the Indianapolis Colts play defense is a little different than the Cincinnati Bengals. I also think they're going to sit there and go, wait, Cincinnati kept giving up all these short, easy completions to Mike White. I mean, he never attempted a pass over 20 yards. 2 of the 3 leading receivers on his team were the running backs out of the backfield. So that, to me, is where it's going to be a different game. Like Mike White, with the way the Colts play defense, they have a good front 4 that can pressure you and get in the face of the quarterback. He's going to have to make some plays. He is. Now, the Jets, the run game, it shows signs of life. This kid right here, Ty Johnson's a hell of a player. Their 4th-round pick, Michael Carter, right here on the screen. I mean, again, this is laying out perfectly for me because you can see all the short passes that are being thrown here other than 1 touchdown. That's where they got something. I mean, this Michael Carter, he's the real deal. I mean, he's perfect for the modern-day NFL because, again, another short pass to him for his ability to run, but he's a great pass catcher out of the backfield. But the Colts play a defense where they're going to take that stuff away. They're not, and it's going to happen. They're not going to let that happen and die that slow death. So that's where I think it's going to be a tougher struggle for the Jets on the offensive side of the ball as compared to what I looked at as a underwhelming performance by the Bengals because they beat the Ravens and there was that psychological part of the situation. And they kind of played, let's just drop back and play it safe and he'll screw it up. And he tried to screw it up early on, but he then at some point got in a rhythm and I mean, the Bengals just never adjusted to where you're like, okay, he's completing passes now. You can't just keep going back and playing soft. Like, he's in a rhythm. Something's got to change. I don't see the Colts approaching it that way on the defensive side of the ball.
And I really do think that psychologically the Bengals went into that game
100%.
This is a check mark, and it proved me they're not ready to be an elite team because elite teams go into a situation like that and they kick ass.
That's right. I think you're exactly right.
They don't step on a rake.
It's the number one thing. Like, you know, my dad and I we were having this conversation on my podcast yesterday, but it's the number one thing that jumps out to you, and you bring it up all the time. This is where you're great at picking games because you were very good at your psychoanalysis that way.
Wasn't good on Sunday. Made the Bengals the best bet to cover. And they were up 31-20. I'm thinking, hey, baby, give me my money.
I know, but you're right on that more times than not. And you're right. They were very close to being able to put that away a few times. Now, the Jets made a few plays, definitely. But, no, I think, you have a Jets team who came off getting, walloped by the New England Patriots. And then you have, yes, like you said, the Bengals team coming off a big win of the Ravens with their chest puffed out like, yeah, we're one of the best teams in the AFC. It's the NFL, like you said. It's even. The best team and the worst team is not that big of a gap. It's not like college football where it's going to be a 72-0 blowout. That's not going to happen. So the Jets will be a pain in the butt tonight, but I don't think they're as good as the Colts. I'm not giving up on the Colts yet. Yeah, they're 3-5. But as we've talked about a lot this year, 17-game season, I mean, they could still get in easily at 9-8. I mean, easily. We'll see how this plays out, but I still think there's a lot of playoff qualities about the Colts football team, and that's why I'm not gonna totally abandon ship on them quite yet.
Hey, there's 3 spots in the postseason beyond what the division winners automatically lock up. So even if they can't catch the Titans, they're not out of the question for a wild card berth because look at the struggles of the Chiefs. Look at where the Chargers are right now.
Right.
Look at what's going on with the Browns. The Steelers are just above water. The Bengals losing to the Jets helps the Colts. The Colts, I think, this is one of those reestablish yourself type of a games. I'm not. And again, we're doing our picks later, but I agree with you. I like what the Colts can do. I like what Jonathan Taylor's doing in the run game, and even though Carson Wentz needs to not try to be Superman,
yes,
because that's when he flies into a building,
right?
If he can contain himself and know when to pull the plug on a play,
that's right.
That will help too.
Yes, 100%. Hey, the Titans they're a good football team. I mean, like we kind of talked about. I mean, they were kind of rounding into one of the teams you go, damn, they're definitely a Super Bowl contender in the AFC, like 100%. You know, they did some really good things in that football game. It's not an easy game. Of course, it's also a divisional matchup. And the Titans have become like masters of the zone defense, a little bit like the New England Patriots are right now, where they know how to pass people off in every zone, and they make life hard on you. And, yeah, Carson Wentz, you know, he's played good football for the most part of the year. It was a little slow early on. He got hot here as of late. He ran into a buzzsaw with a divisional team that kind of knows their offense, knows some of the tricks of the trade, that what they like to do. And he compounded some of those mistakes and wouldn't get off receivers and, like you said, held the ball a little too long too many times. There was some definite blatant mistakes. The one thing I will say, though, too, is, like you just mentioned it, Frank Reich's got to be more patient with the run game. Jonathan Taylor's too good to be only giving him 16 carries in a game where he had 70 yards. And it wasn't like one of those runs was 60 yards and the rest of it was nothing. You know, it was 16 carries, 70 yards. The longest run of the day was 12 yards. Now, what happened in the game a little bit, they got a bunch of holding calls on some successful runs, and I think that frustrated Frank Reich. But he did a little bit of an injustice to his team that way. We're giving up on it a little bit and let the Titans just play pass defense after pass defense after pass defense. And I would imagine that's going to be a little bit different tonight too. Now, the Jets defense is no punk. You know, we see they can make a few plays and do things, but they're not overly talented. And I would think the Colts can move the ball on them a little bit.
I mean, the Jets are going to be feeling confident, but they did catch the Bengals at the perfect time. One of the things Mike White told me after the game, to explain why he started 11 for 11, the Bengals just assumed they were going to run the ball. It's his backup quarterback.
That's what I
mean. For Joe Flacco,
That's
they don't believe in him,
right?
And so
they played
it's
vanilla
be a
defenses.
tonight.
Yes, exactly right. But yeah, you're laying out. Thank you for even adding that. That lays out the point I was trying to make more. Yeah, they played very vanilla. Like, you know, they're not going to be anything good. Let's not us take any chances and mess something up. You know, and that's fine. But at some point, you got to reevaluate and go, wait, that's not working anymore. And again, I think the Colts are a little bit more aggressive on the defensive side of the ball to where they're going to force the Jets to have to make throws. Mike White make throws down the field in the pocket. He's not going to give them that highlight show we just showed there where every ball was a check down to the running back and the running back got to run for 15 yards after the catch. That I would be shocked if that's the case tonight.
Well, it should be a fun game just because, look,
it's football.
We're already halfway through. This is the halfway point of the season. Week 18 will be here before you know it. Let's enjoy these standalone games while we can. And we've said this time and again, we're in the middle of information overload from 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock Eastern on Sunday with all these games happening at once. I love being able to watch one game at a time. I don't care who's playing. I love being able to watch one game.
I'm with you. It's just something about it. You know, and of course, you always learn a few things, too. I mean, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck get to talk to the coaches. They get to hear a few little inside details that they bring out during the game, and you go, damn, that's good to know. That puts some things into context about things I've been questioning, you know, on film or whatever else. So I'm with you all the way. I can't wait. And like you said, it's the NFL. I mean, these teams are so close, and it's very rarely a one-sided blowout type of football game, and I don't expect it to be that way tonight. I don't.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.